Monday Night Lights, Monday Night Lights, Monday Night Lights. Let's talk about what's been going on at Viking Ice Arena. You've never seen a league so exciting and tough and fast. It simply must be discussed on an equally exciting and tough podcast. What's it called? Monday Night Lights. Yeah. Monday Night Lights. The Nordiques, the Whalers, the Seals, the Americans, the North Stars. Who's gonna stall? Who will go far and earn the keg? Who's gonna earn the keg? We'll find out in time. Give us a holler on the whoop line.
All right. As many people have touched on, crazy night in MNL. Upside down night, opposite night, position night from bowling. It was 1-2-3 versus 4-5-6, and 4-5-6 swept the matchups. So, as we know, power rankings are not standings. They are a current reflection of the league. So, Pangrazi, don't be mad. The Nordiques are not going to be in the top 3 this week. Elections have consequences. Games have consequences. All right? So, with that said, checking in, number 1, the Americans. This was a signature win for the Americans, probably their best win of the season that I can remember, thoroughly disposing of the Maroons. It had everything that you want from an Americans game. Johnny G, solid in net. I walked into the rink, it was 2-0. I heard that Proctor had one of his standard Proctor bullshit, low, no-angle goals, slap shot along the ice type goal. And then later in the game, he had another little bullshit slap shot knuckle puck past Cam. So textbook Proctor goals. And then in addition to that, the Goom squad was a beast. He did some spinorama, threw it off his buddy Dougie's dick into the net for a goal. He also chased down a puck, bitch slapped Piercy, treated him like a rag doll, went in on a breakaway, didn't score, but retrieved the puck, passed it out front to Rutkowski, the league villain, who drilled it into the net. And it was just a great night for the Americans. Then Americans up 5-6-1, meaningless hockey. You know, most teams would be happy, but the Americans being the Americans, like, fuck that. Rutkowski's getting into it with Judge. Judge may or may not have dumped him on a face-off, you know, and then Rutkowski's certainly not going to let that go unanswered, so he goes after him, gives him a little stick chick to the dick. Judge might have deserved it, you know, but just classic American hockey. So can they keep it together for another week? We'll find out. But on this night, it was perfect for the Americans, and they are number 1 in the power rankings. Number 2, we have the Tigers. Huge win for the Tigers. I did not get to watch this game. We were playing at the same time, but when I walked over and heard it was 5-1, I was a little surprised. You know, not that the Tigers won, but 5-1, quite the shellacking. Sounds like the star of the night was Andy Fem, notched himself a hat trick, and then in news that makes me smile, classic Peso fashion, game's 4-1, I'm told, 20 seconds left on the clock. Peso does a toe drag, top titties, bar down snipe over Pangrazi. I think Pangrazi probably wasn't even paying attention at this point in the game, but just classic Peso. So, good night for the Tigers. They needed it. They had some pressure from the North Stars and the Seals, so just a huge win for the Tigers. As we know, in last week's version of the power rankings, it was a little tough on Mr. Skillman. I sent Skillman a text after the game, you know, asking if he played a two-way game, blah, blah, blah. He said maybe. I said, well, if I got to be a jerk, you know, just to motivate the Tigers, I'm willing to fall on that sword. And he thanked me for my motivation. So some good can come out of these power rankings. GMs, if you need me to, you know, rally up one of your players by demeaning them in an audio power rankings, I can do that for a fee. Just let me know. Number 2, Tigers. Checking in at number 3, I have the North Stars. I think number 3 was appropriate. We had a very nice win as well, 3-0 over the Whalers. We were definitely aided by some subs, though. We had Golden Brett was out, so Pfister was our permanent sub. He bailed the day of for back problems. Shawnee declined because he had a doctor's appointment. I just don't think his heart was in it for playing for the North Stars, but that's okay. Then the Coalition of Friendly GMs, which Sikorsky told me I am not a member of, but he allowed us graciously to have Sugar come in, and Sugar scored 2 goals for us. That helped. Trent also scored a goal for a 3-1 tally. We had Johnny G in net, super solid. Crunk on D for Maff played very well. So we thank all of our subs. They played a big role in it. But this was a nice game for the North Stars apart from the subs. We did a nice job of containing the Drake with the Desert Swarm. Haven't been able to do it in our first 2 games when he just made mincemeats of us. Definitely got some frustration. And then Sugar gave him a little sugar welcome. So it was like a frustrating night for the Whalers, and that was satisfying. North Stars haven't been really able to lock people down a ton this year, so it felt good to, contain the high-flying Whalers. So good win for the North Stars. Gives us some breathing room on the Seals. 8 points separating the North Stars from the Seals. Seals do have a game in hand, so they aren't dead, but it's getting tougher for the Seals. So North Stars play the Maroons next week. Should be an opportunity to see if we're for real. Riding a two-game winning streak, but I'd like to do it with our full team, and hopefully we have the opportunity to do that next week. North Stars, number 3. Checking in at number 4, we have the Whalers. I think the Whalers were the best of the worst on Monday night. Their loss was only 3-0. The Nordiques and the Maroons kind of got bombed out of the gym, so I guess the closest loss, coupled with being first in the standings, the Whalers check in at number 4. Equally important, maybe even more important, that even though the Whalers lost, they lost 0 ground on their bye and checked another week off the calendar. So even though it was a disappointing loss for the Whalers, it was actually a successful week because they keep their lead, and then they get to cross one more week off the calendar, assuring them almost the bye and the President's Trophy. So it was a bad week, but a good week for the Whalers. The Drake, like I said, was pretty contained most of the night. I can't remember, him having one of his patented chances in the slot where he normally snipes. He did set up Maki right on the doorstep one time. It's probably the Whalers' best scoring chance the whole night. Slid it out to Maki in front, and Maki got good wood on it, but nice save by Johnny G. Everyone knows that follow Slack at all, that Maki has 2 more games to score 1 more goal to win $50 for the Drake against me and Dougie Fresh. So it's coming down to the wire. I figure it's any man's game at this point. I think he's probably going to get it done, but no guarantees. So we shall see. It's been a fun bet to follow throughout the year. But Whalers checking in at number 4. Checking in at number 5, we have the Nordiques. I apologize in advance. I don't have a ton to say about the Nordiques. I did not get to watch the game. I was told that Andy Fem had the hat trick, and then Peso did Peso things at the end of the game. That's about all I got from the recap. Nordiques have had a really nice year, played really solid. I don't really remember them getting blown out, so this was definitely out of character. Dave P. was at the rink. He's been playing better lately, but don't really know what to say other than to just chalk this up to a bad night for the Nordiques. Disappointing because a win would have really helped them in their quest for the bye. They didn't lose any ground, but they didn't gain any ground. So Nordiques checking in at number 5, and we'll move on to the next one. Checking in at number 6, we have the Maroons. Rough night for the Maroons. They have been playing really good hockey, racing up the standings, getting the return of their vaunted label. So really expected them to play well and to beat the Americans. So not only did they lose, they just got bombed. So definitely a frustrating night. I want to thank Sugar for playing in the 9 o'clock game. Probably gassed him out for his own game. That's one thing about Sugar. He doesn't really have the, he's not going to put on the governor like Ben to save himself for his own team. So his flaw is the North Stars game, because he definitely played well for us, but sounds like he was out of gas a little bit for the Maroons game. My buddy Piercy, we all love him. We know he's called himself the Proctor stopper, but he is not the Guma stopper. That's probably the highlight of the game, is that Guma little race for the puck. It was a very, very nice play by Guma. He got a step on Piercy, used his big frame. I think he chased down Piercy. I think Piercy had a lead. Guma chased him down, poked it in front of him, then put his big butt into Piercy. Piercy could not get the puck, and then went in on a breakaway. Did not score, but then passed it to Rutkowski. But the Proctor stopper could not contain Guma. So interesting profile to pay attention to in the future. I will say my man Judge, since I'm calling out people, there's one play, in particular, Judgy, we love him, goes coast to coast. He has finished a lot this year. He's had good success with it. So can't complain. But there's one time, I think Ben or Sugar is wide open on a breakaway. Judge needs to hit him with a simple pass, and then he just skated it in, blah, 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 play over. So not Judge's best night, not the Maroons' best night, but Woodsy was, ineffective. I think he got clipped, and one time was on the ice holding his head. So it was just it was much of a signature good night for the Americans. It was a bad night for the Maroons. But Cam's been playing Vezina quality. Didn't have a good night, but that's okay. It's going to happen. They still have a good chance at the bye. So we will see what happens with the Maroons as they attempt to bounce back next week against the North Stars. And checking in at number 7, we have the Seals. Not much to report here other than just the worst possible night for the Seals. A small part of me feels bad for my brother. It's hard to feel bad because they've won more kegs than anybody else and this and that, but it is sad to see them down in the basement, missing the potential playoffs. But it was just an awful night. Whoop subbed. I don't know not a lot of other Seals subbing, which is probably an indication of how well they drafted. But then sitting there on a bye and then watching the Tigers, the Americans, and the North Stars, the teams that you're chasing, all win. Just worst case scenario for the Seals. So they pretty much need to win out. Silver lining is they play against all the teams in front of them. They play again. I think next week they have one more tough game. I think they play the Nordiques next week. But then after that,